I heard one time that the World of Warcraft is garbage. It's a game of casuals, a zero-content Facebook slot machine RNG mindless grind game. It's been dumbed down since the glory days of the Burning Crusade when raiding was real and content was hard. The new talent tree system ruined the game. Ability pruning ruined the game. Taking reforging out ruined the game. Bring the player not the class ruined the game. Simplifying rotations ruined the game. Blizzard, can't you make the game more challenging like it used to be? I just stated a bunch of opinions. Debatable truths from the mouths of many different players. It's their truth, so it's true, it's just not the truth. There's been a never-ending, lowbrow conversation attempting to explain what's behind the decline of what is the most influential MMORPG of our time. I think just one reason behind its decline is due in part to its success. WoW created a community around itself so large that while the cry to return to its classic roots marches on, the commercialization of WoW will prevent that from ever happening successfully. Or at least not in the way you expect. Hey, it's Soul giving you the World of Warcraft. Today I'm going to present an illustration on what I just call the commercialization of WoW. That is, the advancements that WoW and other recent MMORPGs have indirectly created that have in turn lifted the veil of mystery that normally comes from these deep, enriching social experiences. The World of Warcraft isn't just a game, but a social platform for gamers and a collection of systems for industrialists and entrepreneurs to eventually carve their own small empires. In turn, the tools and communities formed under their influence have, in my opinion, indirectly created another culture. A more selfish, look-it-up kind of community culture. This culture receives questions not like a community interaction but more like an annoyance, and doesn't respond with neighborly communication, but instead a finger pointed towards the right direction and resistance to further conversation. This is a piece that does not reflect my personal opinions, but I wanted to explore this unique view of the World of Warcraft and by consequence, much of the video game industry that involves long-term communities and MMORPGs make a pretty strong representation. Your disagreements are welcome. One day, Player X walked into town and asked trade chat the following. Hey, I'm stuck on blah 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 quest. Can anyone help? Murmurs grumbled around the player, then a dismissive silence. Ugh, another noob, trade chat thought. More bads, they can't figure it out for themselves. Trade chat answered with a dismissive, look it up on Wowhead. Player Y posted in the forum the following. Hey, any Pro Frost Death Knights available to answer a question privately? The forum quickly answered with a link to Clash Discords. But Player Y was persistent. I know, but I was hoping someone could watch my meters on a dummy and give me some quick tips. The forum snapped back. You have sims or logs? Player Y didn't think of that. No, he said. Log a few parses and learn to read them. Here's some YouTube links. If you're still lost, then I guess come back. Player Y felt a bit more determined. Sure thing, he said. This happens all the time, but there's nothing wrong with the scenarios I described, regardless of what I personally think about the tone. Once upon a time though, players asked for help and there wasn't a Wowhead database available. There wasn't yet an authority on the best approach to talent selections, ability rotations, or otherwise centralized help. But it was 1999, years before the launch of the World of Warcraft and during the heyday of the biggest MMO at the time, EverQuest. The internet was still growing, but this space was kind of young. Information was harder to find. A website called Alakazam was created to support the game, and it was a successful resource to players overwhelmed by EverQuest's massive world. By the time WoW launched, Alakazam was a powerhouse after throwing its support behind not just EverQuest, but Final Fantasy XI and other MMOs of the time. Also supporting WoW was ThoughtBot, a database supported with user comments. In a series of purchases and shakeups, the ZAM network was created, and by 2007 it owned Alakazam, ThoughtBot, and Wowhead, another database that was created in 2006. WoW is somewhat unique in its support of add-on creation, from visual enhancements to gameplay improvements to the deconstruction of complex raid encounters. Among the raiding community, there's only a small minority of players who don't use add-ons like Deadly Boss Mods, Bigwigs, or some equivalent. And among the economists in WoW, add-ons like Auctionator and Trade Skill Master are very widely used. Add-ons are a mainstay, and for some, a requirement. The convenience of obtaining them means some add-ons feel like a necessary part of the game. In some cases, they literally did become part of the game. Behind the availability of these add-ons are large networks to support their distribution like Curse.com and WoW Interface, a site which, by the way, is owned by the ZAM network too. The minds behind Curse also go back to the early days of WoW as a simple add-on distributor, but has since grown into a network spanning many games and services like Curse Voice. Fan sites have grown far beyond a single ownership or a partnership between a few friends. Familiar websites like mmo-champion, Arena Junkies, and Wowpedia house some of the largest WoW-related forums around. Sites like Reddit and YouTube are monsters of their own. Discord channels provide up-to-the-minute information from some of the top players in the world. Parses can be recorded and uploaded to Warcraft logs to compare performance against rivals. Ask Mr. Robot can tell you what gear you're missing and where to get it. Icy Veins can tell you how to use it. So what's my point here? Information is so freely accessible that it's easier to run a Google search than to ask a person. The great mysteries of WoW are solved in weeks, sometimes months in advance, thanks to data mining and analysis of encounters on test realms. Players do still need help and they reach out for it, otherwise these sites and databases lose reason to exist as they are today. But there's a difference between asking for help and looking it up. This convenience has come at the unquantifiable cost of just how much communication between people is lost. As another consequence, the journey of discovery is damaged, maybe broken. One of the pillars of an MMORPG is to discover a character, spec, and playstyle that suits the player. But today's culture has shifted away from that and towards efficiency, min-maxing, best in slot, and ranking. Some of the loudest voices among the already vocal player base in WoW come from the competitive side of the PvP and raiding communities. They're obviously relevant, but their loud voice and public acknowledgement gives the perception that WoW is a competitive game, when it's actually an amalgam, a theme park to please audiences of different playstyles, preferences, and age groups. Isn't this a big problem that threatens the foundations of what is considered fun for players? And can anything be done about it? The answer is no, it's not a problem. And regardless, there's nothing that can be done about it. It's because as gamers and people, we're now accustomed to the conveniences of the internet and the wealth of resources it provides to us. The state of WoW, its communities, and gaming resources in general is a response to the desires of players. Their existence, prevalence, and the marketing muscle behind these resources makes them indispensable. I myself tell players to look up sites or to keep their ears open for DBM to tell them to stand outside of something. I talk too, offering up my personal knowledge directly, in forums and here on YouTube. It's still a thriving community, just in a different way. And today's WoW isn't a series of bad decisions, but decisions shaped by an influence we may not entirely understand or agree with. Sometimes though, if you're asked a question by a player like where something is, take a few minutes to take them there. Chat. It'd be nice. Then tell them a little bit about Wowhead. That's probably nice too. Share your thoughts, and stay breezy.